right, and welcome back to another episode of the Jimmy T Podcast here at OSI Podcast Studios and All Night Study at UCF, and I am back with my new co-host Ogarth this week.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Make sure you guys check out the episode before this one, last week's episode, and subscribe and comment and let us know what we can do better.
Yes, definitely. And if you are interested in watching last week's episode, which will definitely be helpful to understanding this week's episode a little bit more, the link will be in the description. There was a lot of awesome stuff that athletically went on this week at UCF, one of those being the war on I-4 that was rolled out between us and USF.
And if anybody doesn't know what the war on I-4 is the long interstate that connects Orlando and Tampa, so it's like a rivalry.
Yeah, and it's an awesome thing that they're going to be rolling out to kind of start to really build up the rivalry even more between us and USF. Other stuff that happened that we will go into is we'll break down the UCF football game because we went down to FIU this weekend in Miami to play them, and then also we'll talk about other events that went on at UCF this past week, and we'll also lead into other events that went on this week. This past Wednesday, UCF and USF officially announced what is a rivalry that's been going on for quite a few years now, and they're officially dubbing it the War on I-4. And to roll out this event, it happened at the UCF volleyball game against USF that we actually ended up, it was a very good game that the Knights came out strong and were able to sweep the Bulls in 3 straight sets. And it really led off to a lot of awesome stuff because it was very dominant performance by our women's volleyball team, who normally do pretty well. And it was a great way to kind of get their season going and to really kick off the rivalry series itself.
I walked in the gym, the arena, all I saw was digs, spikes, and saves.
That's awesome. And also, it was kind of cool what they did for the War on I-4 is that they actually have an official website for it that you can go to, and you're going to be able to like choose a side and stuff like that, and it's really cool. That
we'll put that in the bio also, so you gotta go check that out.
Yeah, definitely. Like especially for Knights, we need to take a side and we need to beat the crap out of those Bulls because I know I was talking with my mom about this past weekend because she is a USF alum, so I had to rub it in like we got it started, and this is how it's going to be. And it was pretty great. And there were other events that did go on as well that continued the War on I-4, and it was the men's soccer game this past week. We did play USF up here.
The men's soccer game, it didn't go how we wanted it to, but ultimately we had more shots on goal. We just didn't come out with more goals. It was a physical game, to say the least. We're going to upload some pictures if you guys see. Leland will get that done, too. We'll upload some pictures so you can see just how physical the game was.
Yeah, and it definitely sounded like from Leland, who did go out and check out this game, that it sounded like it was definitely a hard-fought game between us and USF. Unfortunately, the Knights didn't come out on the right side of it. But it definitely, we took one, USF took one, and it's going to be back and forth a lot, and it's a lot of fun. But what definitely I think would be an issue with the soccer team this year is we did lose a lot of important players, one of them being Haji Berry.
Yeah, he left to go to Orlando City, so go check him out also.
Yeah, they traded back up into like what I guess they call it their first round in their draft, and they pick him and everything. So that's really awesome. But definitely when you lose a great player like that, it means that there's going to be like a learning curve of sorts to kind of fill that gap.
Yeah, we have young players, so eventually give it 2 or 3 years, we should be.
Yeah, definitely, and they'll be able to make the Knights proud in more War on I-4 contests.
Now we're going to talk mainly more about the football game. We went down to FIU this weekend and completely demolished them.
That is one way to definitely put it. The final score was your UCF Knights 53 and the Florida International Golden Panthers 14. It was kind of close out of the gate. UCF went right down and scored and got the 2-point conversion to go up 8. Then the Panthers actually quickly responded and it made it 8-7. But then after that, UCF just kind of took off and literally took off, especially Adrian Killings, who on the ground just was insane with 6 carries for 86 yards. He averaged 14.3 yards a carry.
Yeah, he went 200 all-purpose, and on top of that, they had Milton. He did a little something there too. I know you last week were unimpressed by Milton's performance. Did this week change any?
It really didn't because, I mean, he only completed 8 passes out of 14 and for 173 yards. Granted, he did get a touchdown. He threw that to Jordan Akins, who's my man, by the way. He got it in the end zone, but it was more that, like, Jordan Akins made a fantastic play, and it wasn't like it was that great of a throw. Like, he hauled it in and had to make such a circus catch. I don't know. It looks like, from what I saw from the game, I was unfortunately unable to watch it as it was on some weird station to be able to watch it. And you had to have some subscription and stuff like that. I don't know. I just wasn't impressed. I think that Granted, he didn't turn over the ball this time, which is very good, but the only benefit I saw from him was on his feet. As for throwing, it looked like when he had some really wide open windows, he made a little bit better decisions this week and was able to find certain guys. And he did make a lot of good decisions in that sense of putting the ball in the hand of our playmakers in Adrian Killings and Dontravius Wilson, who had wonderful games on the ground.
Yeah, I saw Dontravius Wilson. He went for 3 TDs. Killings, he went for a long run also. That was a nice one. He hit the sidelines and made a good play there.
Yeah, then what's always nice is when we're able to talk about the backup quarterback in a positive way with him coming in, being able to finish off the game. Nick Patty did come in, and he did have a rushing touchdown, which was pretty nice. I think it was like a 16-yard touchdown run. That was nice. And so that's always nice to be able to have a very comfortable fourth quarter where I believe I can see the box score. I believe we were up like 48 or to 7 going into the fourth quarter. I don't know if I can confidently say that, but that was a nice showing against a team. They definitely needed to be doing that, but it will be more important is what they do next week as they travel to East Carolina to kick off conference play in the American Athletic Conference.
East Carolina, they're a solid team. They're always a solid team every year.
Yeah.
And so a win against them would really solidify UCF, get us ready for the war on I-4 again. It's coming up in a couple of weeks. That's going to be a good one. And get us ready for the homecoming game.
Yeah, it'll definitely be exciting because that's an important. I'll be interested to see how like another away game with not a crazy one being like Michigan was going to the big house and everything up in Michigan in Ann Arbor. That's quite an environment to go in for any big level team. So being able to just go into an East Carolina, which is just a regular conference game, and seeing how they're able to perform at that, it'll be nice to see. And then after that, they'll be coming home. It'll be a nice Friday game against Tulane, and then the week after is homecoming. I believe.
Yes. So I know we got a couple W's and we got a couple wins and losses. What do you think about Frost so far?
I like him. I really do. I think what I like about him the most is he's very aggressive. And what he's doing is he's giving everyone a chance to play in a sense. Not in the sense that you haven't gotten any snaps, get out there and play. But just for certain situations like the Maryland game last week, that when it was 4th and 1 on our own 15, he went for it. And it was that he wants to be able to win for these guys and show these guys they can win, but also at the end of the day, he's evaluating the entire program this year to see what players need to be given more time to develop, or if it's certain older players that aren't cutting it, especially on the offensive side of the ball, that need to just be we're just going to finish out the season and you're just going to go away and more recruits are going to come to take your spot. But I think for the most part, him starting off, I've liked it a lot. I mean, 2-2 at the end of the day is not awful. It's a great way to go off. I want 5 more wins to go to a bowl game. I think that'll be huge for them this year to be able to do that. But we'll see. I like that the harsh evaluation process won't start for another 2 years.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see that there's a little bit of progress this year. Then hopefully that continues in the next year. And then it needs to be a serious project with him having a chance to get 2 recruiting classes in to be able to fully evaluate him. But as of right now, definitely he's on my good side. I like him a lot.
Could have easily been 3-1.
Very easily could have been 3-1 without those turnovers that I'm referencing about Mackenzie Milton that everyone wants to overlook. But no.
No, I think give him 2 years to get good recruiting classes in, and they'll be straight.
Yeah, because I mean, at this point, it's hard to judge a guy when he's playing with another person's players. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a little different in the pros because it's if you have a professional player, a high value person, you need to be able to win with them. But in college, it's very different because O'Leary definitely had a very different system, has a very different system from Frost. Or Frost wants to open it up and have that Oregon-style offense where it's fast, up-tempo, and we don't have the players to run that. Certain ones that freshman Adrian Killings, and even Milton to a certain extent, with being a true freshman, is a Frost person that you want to see that is capable of running this offense.
Yeah.
But to get some more blue chip players in there, some even higher end 4-star, that even if you're able to snag a 5-star recruit away from these bigger schools, that'll be big to kind of start a turn, and hopefully that'll affect us being able to get into a bigger conference, potentially the Big 12. All right, and then Knights fans, if you want to be able to see your football Knights again, unfortunately, you'll have to wait till not this coming Friday, but the Friday after October 7th, when they'll be home for an awesome Friday night game against Tulane. It'll be real awesome. It'll be another American Athletic Conference game, so it'll be cool to be able to see if they can follow up, hopefully, a successful weekend against East Carolina.
And if you want to see your soccer Knights, you have to wait till Thursday. They'll be home against Houston. You can watch them.
Yeah, and it's definitely important to also go out to other games. And if you wanted to check out the women volleyball Knights, that'll unfortunately have to wait till October 7th as well, when they'll be here against Houston. That'll be at 4 p.m., so you'll be able to see it nice and comfortably before the football game. So it'll be awesome. And definitely make sure that if there's any sport we didn't mention, if with your tuition fee you are able to get into any of these games for free with your student ID, definitely go out. It's a lot of awesome stuff, especially with basketball will be coming up, baseball, football, volleyball, soccer, softball. There's a lot of awesome stuff going on here at campus, and you are well within your right as you're paying for it to go do it. So you get in, you get free admission to any game you want. So definitely go check it out. And there were a lot of awesome games that happened this weekend. One that we did speak about on the last show was Florida State and USF.
Yes, I picked Florida State, and like I said, it happened. So.
Yeah. And I picked USF. So yeah, that happened. From what I watched for the game, that USF came out pretty strong.
Yeah.
They did. They came out, but then Florida State, I think they thought of Louisville with that first deep touchdown from USF, and I think that just set them off, and they were done with it.
Yeah,
and Florida State came out strong and had that strong first half that everyone wanted from them, and they were able to just hold USF back. USF showed a lot of improvement in this game compared from last year to this year, but the difference is that they're still not there yet. But there definitely was progress, and it is a little bit closer.
Yeah.
But just not there yet.
I saw USF was very hyped up in this game. I mean, even the Rapper Flies had got a jersey and everything.
Yeah.
I saw that all on Twitter and everything.
But it definitely was a good start. And it just shows that, just keep getting closer and closer, that if they're able to at least perform on a high level with them, win or not, then that's an important thing. Because if they're able to hold their own against FSU, then they'll be able to hold their own against anyone in the country. And that's just how it is.
Except UCF.
Yeah, except UCF. Because Thanksgiving, we're coming for you, USF. Another fun game that happened this weekend that we also talked about was Tennessee and Florida.
Once again, I was correct. Tennessee took the W. I think I'm undefeated this week.
I think okay. I know I picked Tennessee because there was no way in heck I was picking Florida. And it looked like our picks were both going to be wrong at the beginning of the game because Florida did come out with a 21-0 lead.
Yeah. I turned the channel at that time. I wasn't a happy camper. I went to go get some food, came back, and it's like my stomach got satisfied, and so did the rest of me when I came back and saw Tennessee back on top.
Yeah, I had it on. I was about to go to work, and I saw where it just looked like Tennessee was sleepwalking, and I was like, oh, great, I get all these Gator fans on Twitter going to be going off. And then I get an update later in the night that they scored 38 straight points to win 38-28. And I was like, oh, my God. And then I promptly went to Twitter to see all the Florida fans. It was awesome for Tennessee because it is an 11-year streak that has now been broken. And so that's awesome. That's cool because there were some people, in their time in attending that university, they never saw a Florida win. And that's nuts. Well, I mean, I was worried. I was worried at the end of last year, am I ever going to see a UCF football win in person? So I can't imagine that where it's such a big rivalry game in that sense to, Florida have that over them for so long.
Someone could, just to put this in retrospect, someone could go to that university undergrad, do 5 years, and then go to graduate school and still not have seen a win at that time.
I think what didn't help was because I think Florida was very complacent the entire week, and their fan base was as well, is that everyone was celebrating another win before the game was even played.
Oh, yeah.
And so and they came out, and it looked like it was going to be another win. But I give Tennessee a ton of credit because that's a mental thing at that point. You lose to a team 11 straight times. Mm-hmm. That's certainly a mental thing.
Yeah.
That it's you got to get over that hurdle to be able to do that and to come back from such a deficit to be able to pull that off. Hats off to Tennessee.
Even one of the Florida players had said something like, when Ducks talk or something like that, they'll win.
Oh, well, Ducks started talking. They flipped on an Aflac commercial. There it is.
Aflac.
Other scores to run down briefly. Louisville continued their video game numbers with a 59-28 win over Marshall. Houston is continuing their stretch of dominance as well with a 64-3 win over Texas State. So they are definitely the favorites. Houston are going into conference play with the American Athletic Conference. So it'll be interesting to see if they're going to make this run and be able to take advantage of the high ranking they have and see if they can carry that into a college football playoffs berth. But need to know that they actually have to play the games, and it'll be interesting to see if any team is able to trip them up.
Yeah, and they still have to play UCF. So.
Yeah, they'll do. They do. I remember their homecoming game last year. I mean, it could maybe. I don't know. I don't want to think about that. And then one brief college football story we will cover before we finish up with scores and everything was that after the loss to Auburn this weekend, LSU did decide to fire Les Miles.
Yeah, that was a big decision. People thought this was coming last year, but he won the bowl game, and then I guess they gave him a retrial, and it still didn't work.
It was interesting because they thought, a lot of people in the media said that this was, like you said, a long time coming.
Yeah.
And thought that LSU kind of made a heart decision last year after the bowl game when he probably should have been fired after the bowl game, when it would have made a lot more sense, and that they're just having to clean up a mess that they let go at that point. It was kind of the equivalent of like that person like you should have just been like, bye, like a girlfriend or something. Like they were like, I should have done this, but it was like, oh well, this was a nice night. And then like, no, we're done. No, definitely done. It's a no. But it definitely, because it was interesting. I remember this around the bowl game last year. It was talk they were going to get rid of him. It would have been interesting if UCF would have hired him. Because that would have been because he wouldn't have. He's not going to get another like big SEC job or something like that. He's not going to get a big program job. It's going to have to come down to a UCF, a program that can make that jump, that would want an experienced coach to make that. And we'll see. But then again, he also could end up being a coordinator at Alabama. So
yeah.
Who knows?
Oh gosh,
who knows? And there were a lot of other events that went on this week that weren't necessarily athletic related at UCF. One of the awesome events that went on was the Midnight 5K that actually happened this past Friday through the RWC. It was a lot of wonderful turnout that we went and checked it out. There were over 400 people there. Awesome turnout, a lot of awesome prizes, and I keep saying awesome a lot. there were a lot of great prizes for the awesome competitors that were out there, men and women, participating, and it's really just a great event that definitely need to check out when the RWC is doing these events, because it is something that is pretty great.
Yeah, they actually have more events coming up also. If you check their website, one of them is happening on the challenge courses. They're having a climbing type event / challenge course event, so make sure you check that out.
Yeah, and more information is that you can go on the RWC website. They'll be able to give you more information about that happily. And also, I'll be going in and asking questions at the RWC itself. We'll be able to get you what you need. And also, another awesome organization club that we want to point out is the Night Runners, which you can check out on Night Connect, which is a wonderful running group that would prepare you for the midnight 5Ks that go on at the RWC if you're able to participate. It's a lot of great stuff. Just check them out for applications, whatever they need from you on Night Connect, and you can join and be a night runner. And be those people that are out stretching late at night when I'm going to get dinner. And by popular demand, we've decided that we're also going to do our picks again this week to see how well we'll be able to competently pick football games. And the first game we'll start off by is two Big Ten heavyweights colliding this weekend in Michigan and Wisconsin.
Michigan and Wisconsin, I like Wisconsin to have an upset against Michigan. I think they're overrated and under-talented.
I will say I love me some Jim Harbaugh. And I've ridden with them this far. I actually thought, I said last year after he took over, I said that I thought they would be in the college football playoffs this year. They're on their way. And I will continue to make that.
As you've seen time and time again, for the last week, he was wrong in his picks. So the college football pick, I'm not saying that. I'm rolling
Wolverines. We're going with Wisconsin. Michigan. Goodness, keep messing me up. Another awesome game is a big Pac-12 matchup as well between Stanford and Washington.
Yeah, I think Stanford has that. I think their offense is just way too high-powered, and McCaffrey is he can do it all.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with Stanford also because McCaffrey, talk about video game numbers with Louisville, he's just putting up video game numbers by himself. All-purpose yards, just nuts. And I think he's going to be able to continue it against Washington. But we'll definitely see because, that's going to be a Friday game. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It'll be a nice late-night game, too. I love those Pac-12 games on Saturdays because, like, you start off the day. I was talking with my family about this. I'm like, I like college football a lot. NFL is more my preference, but I love college football. But it's just no other sport can you turn, like, the games start at noon and then run for like 12 plus hours. So like I could get off work like I did last night at midnight. We lock up the office at midnight, and I go home and I'm able to watch the second half of a game.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome. Like you never get to do that, and it's really great. So that would be an awesome game to check out. But we're both rolling with Stanford. Then one last game because we will keep it AAC centered is Connecticut and Houston.
I like Connecticut for upset.
Really?
I like Connecticut for upset. I feel like Houston might be overranked.
You think so?
I think so. They have compared to all the highly ranked people, they have a easier schedule.
Well, I know that they beat the crap out of Oklahoma, and I have the benefit of looking at Connecticut's record. It's 2-2, and I'm gonna roll with Houston. I'm gonna trust them at this point, which means it'll probably be the upset because of how I pick. But I'm going to go with Houston for our picks this week. And definitely let us know in the comment section, like, to say, like, James, you're crazy and all of your picks are going to be wrong this week. Say that. Well, we can have an awesome discussion about it.
Yeah, make sure to go in the comment section, ask any questions that you have.
Yes, and I did put on the comment section for last week is the best comment will get shown on the next episode of the next week.
That's good incentive.
Yeah, I know.
And make sure you follow me on Twitter.
Yeah. Follow me on Twitter as well. Yeah. Cue the handles. And as I said previously, if there's anything we talked about this week that you would like to speak a little bit more in depth on us or share your opinion on, definitely check us out in the comment section. And don't forget to, at the very end of this episode, there will be a subscribe button. Click it. Just click it. And one thing we'll be introducing for the end of our episodes will be final thoughts with Ogarth and James. And Ogarth, if you would like to start.
Well, an interesting fact that is more of a fact, not a thought, but that I found out is that the person that created Shark Tank actually went to UCF. So that's pretty cool. James was just telling me how much he wants to meet Mark Cuban.
I'd love to meet Cuban.
Just because his last name is Cuban doesn't mean he's as good as a cigar. Just to let you guys know.
And my final thought is, I hope my football picks are better this weekend. Yeah. All right, this has been another episode of the Jimmy T Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe at the end. We'll see you next week.